Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to do something different. Rather than breaking down the entire European Super Cup, we're going to focus on Chelsea, see how Frank Lampard improved his tactics in comparison to their opening day 4-0 loss to Manchester United, pushing Liverpool to penalty shootouts in the European Super Cup. But before we do that, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. But now, let's get to the Chelsea starting lineup. We look at Chelsea 4-3-3. They go with Pulisic, Giroud, and Pedro up front. In midfield, Kovacic, Jorginho, and Conte. So now let's get to the first half, see how Chelsea approached the game, and how they caused Liverpool so many issues in the opening half. So now when we get to Chelsea, again, like I said, we look at their shape, very important here, 4-5-1 without the ball, and they really neutralized everything that Liverpool were trying to do in that opening half. Yes, Kovacic didn't do a good job against Henderson, and yes, Salah did get the few breaks when he did run in behind Emerson, but for the most part, they were able to stop Robertson from pushing forward. They negated the midfield because unlike Liverpool, what ended up happening was that Conte followed Milner, Kovacic for the most part followed Henderson, and then you had Jorginho stepping to Fabinho, and then Fabinho was cut off by Giroud's presence when the center backs had the ball. Pulisic didn't really have any issues to deal with from a defensive aspect because Gomez wasn't looking to get forward, and besides that, Chelsea were fine. When you look at their shape going forward, the front three was pivotal, and they caused Liverpool several issues. N'Golo Kanté was everywhere, carrying the ball forward, winning tackles in midfield. He was arguably their best midfielder on the day. And then when you look at it, Jorginho was getting time and space on the ball. We'll get to that in a bit. And Kovacic was carrying the ball forward. And what was more detailed in Kovacic's movement was as the game wore on, he was drifting out to the left-hand side. And why was that pivotal? Well, when you look at it, you have Pulisic, who is dragging out his marker there in Joe Gomez. Emerson is moving on the overlap, and then you have Henderson obviously shifting over for Kovacic. But because Kovacic is moving into that position, it forces Mo Salah to drop off, where Henderson perhaps would obviously shift over if Emerson pushed forward. What happens now is that they were trying to get those 3v2s, and Liverpool's right-hand side in Matip and Joe Gomez struggled throughout, and that was pivotal to it. But when we look to the chances that Chelsea ended up creating, a lot of it stemmed from the fact that Liverpool's midfield and their defense in general was just too static, ball watching, not putting enough energy into their defensive work. And we have 4 detailed breakdowns where we actually see this happening. One coming from a pullback where Jorginho simply clips the ball over the midfield, and you have a 2v2 battle with Pedro and Giroud against the center backs. Pedro runs at the back line, slides it beyond Matip for Giroud, but he slashes his shot wide of the net. That's one opportunity there. We look to another opportunity where we see Chelsea break forward, and all we do see is Kovacic slide the ball out to Pedro ahead of Milner and ahead of Fabinho. And what Giroud did very good here was that he was able to back into Van Dijk and occupy him. So what happens is that he plays the ball in between those two midfielders to Giroud. Giroud plays it back to him, and he's able to take his touch around Matip and break into left half space, fires his shot off the crossbar. That's another golden opportunity that probably should have led to a goal. We look to another opportunity. Liverpool try to clear the ball out to Mane, but Zuma does step forward and wins the challenge. It's Kovacic on the left-hand side. Who does he find? Pedro, again, dropping ahead of Robertson in a narrow position to get on the ball. And what happens there is that he picks up the ball ahead of Van Dijk and ahead of Robertson, and Milner's recovering, but he's able to hold them off. As he holds them off, let's focus on Kovacic, because he ends up making a run beyond Henderson, beyond Fabinho, and makes a run in between the center backs again. So he splits the center backs. You have Pedro playing a lovely reverse ball in between Robertson and Van Dijk, 1v1 with Adrian, but Adrian's able to palm the ball away from him, and that denies Chelsea a legitimate goal-scoring opportunity. The build-up to the goal now, it kind of sums up what Chelsea were doing very well. They press from the front, ball shifts out to Robertson, you have Pedro stepping to him. You have Oxlade-Chamberlain checking in, then trying to run him behind. Azpilicueta follows him. You have Conte running back to Milner. As he runs back to Milner, Robertson's clip ball into Milner, intercepted by Conte. He's able to hold off Mane, bypass Fabinho, and then he locates Pulisic running across Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez now is caught in a narrow position. You have Pulisic running in beyond Fabinho and running at the center backs. And what he ends up doing is he ends up playing the ball in between the center backs and beyond space for Joe Gomez. Giroud is able to break free and he fires a superb effort past the keeper. Liverpool too static, not doing a good job in terms of closing down in midfield. The center backs allowing balls to bisect them because they're not getting protection, and Chelsea's front three ran riot. So those were the key elements to Chelsea enjoying a successful first half in the European Super Cup. The front three caused Liverpool's backline various issues with their movement, and the fact that Chelsea altered their defensive shape, negated Robertson's threat from left back, stifled Liverpool's midfield, and the fact that Liverpool's front three were making similar runs, it ensured that Chelsea's backline really didn't have any issues. So rather than going to the second half where Chelsea constantly tried to beat Liverpool's high line and were unsuccessful, now we'll move to extra time where Chelsea created the better chances, and we'll focus on one key player that made that all happen. So when we get into extra time, there was no real pattern in regards to how the game was played, but we did see some themes that transpired throughout the game in the build-ups to the goals. Tomori did come on for Christensen towards the end of the second half, and we saw Trent Alexander come on, and he moved to right back for Andy Robertson, which pushed Joe Gomez to left back. When we look at the build-up to Liverpool's goal in extra time, it did follow the successful pressing scheme that we've seen them utilize throughout the past few months. And what ended up happening there, like I said, the front three closing out, and once the ball is clipped out to Azpilicueta, Wijnaldum steps, and as he tries to play it out to Pedro, what ends up happening is that Gomez does dispossess Pedro, and the ball falls to Mane. Now they're in deep trouble because Mane is able to break free, but he sees Firmino making a run in between Jorginho, who had dropped off a bit deeper once Tomori came on to help protect the Tomori and Zuma center back partnership, and he was able to get the ball in that space there. And as he got the ball there, Mane continued his run. Chelsea runners got dragged out to the ball. The pullback falls to Mane, and he finishes emphatically to push Liverpool up 2-1. But what ended up happening as the game wore on was that Jorginho was finding more and more time on the ball, and he created some of Chelsea's, or not even Chelsea's, he created the best chances in that period of extra time. We look at it from a deeper position. No one picks up Jorginho. He's able to locate Abraham making a run in between the center backs. Abraham's able to hold off Van Dijk in left half space and poke an effort on goal that Adrian does save. We look a minute later, what ends up happening? Jorginho again gets the ball in a deeper position. Henderson and Fabinho step to him late. What happens here is that he's able to clip the ball over Gomez, and what ends up happening is that Pedro's able to break free, and as Pedro breaks across and takes his first touch across the center back, he pokes the ball into the path of Abraham, who is taken out by Adrian. Yes, it is a soft penalty, but the referee did call it, which led to Jorginho scoring the equalizer. As the game wore on, Origi did come on for Mane, but what ended up happening was that Jorginho was the creator of the final best chance. He drops off a bit deeper. Liverpool try to press again, and what ends up happening here is that Tomori plays the ball in between Origi and Firmino. Jorginho picks it up. No one steps to him. Abraham runs off Matip. He's able to run off Matip, hold up the ball, and he's able to poke it into the path of Mason Mount running towards goal, which forces another great save from the Liverpool keeper, and Pedro then fired a shot inches wide of the net. Liverpool were able to win the game in penalty shootout. When you break down this game as a whole, they did get their chances in the first half, but Chelsea were a much more improved side here in comparison to their game against Manchester United. They dropped off deeper. The front three caused Liverpool's backline several issues. Once Firmino came on, we did see a slight improvement, but it just goes to show how influential he is to this Liverpool side. Whereas for Chelsea, Frank Lampard here has the blueprint for how this Chelsea team needs to play if they want to finish in the top four. And if he follows performances like that, they shouldn't have any issues. But let me know what you guys think. Is there any reason for Liverpool fans to worry following their first two performances of the season? And should Frank Lampard make any other adjustments to the starting X side that we saw today? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.